I got a hot take for you. As a lot of you guys know, Scotty Martin got DQ'd from the Lake Okeechobee Bassmaster Elite Series. And I actually know Scott. I like Scott. He's a good dude. He's had me on his show. If you guys want to go watch him steal my hat when we fished a show many years ago, and then we fished a show on Gunnersville, which was pretty cool. He's good, man. He's good on social media. He's a great representative for the sport, and he's good in derbies, dude. He doesn't live in the shadow of his dad. Like, he made his own brand, his own deal, and he's done an amazing job with it. He's on the highest kind of elite level of that stuff. But I think I got a couple unique takes for you when it comes to this disqualification, and it presents a really difficult question for these tournament things to answer. And this is one of the very reasons why I did not fish the Toyota Series and I did not fish the Bass Opens, because when it comes down to it, everything's like politics, right? Whether you like it or not. But this is where fishing shows how stupidly political, especially in the tournament scene, it can get. And one of the things that I always cling to is guys that fish, like that tournament fish, the one thing that we kind of have in common, other than loving to fish, is there's a certain adequate level of common sense, right? Like, I think guys that fish are usually, for the most part, pretty grounded, pretty, even keel about things, and assess things for what they are instead of getting all, I mean, obviously YouTube and the internet make it all, make you think that that's the majority of people. But I think when it comes down to it, the silent majority, like the real group of anglers, like that we know, that we interact with, is not like that. They're normal, standard dudes. They assess things, they evaluate things using common sense, key operating terms. So, should he have been DQ'd? Hell no. Like, that's so dumb. So dumb. And for all you guys who are going to be like, rules are rules, bro, rules are rules, the rules are applied differently, not only to different people, but differently in different contexts, dude. Like, the world is a contextual thing, right? So you have to evaluate things as they are, not as you see them, as you want them to be, as everybody says they are. Every situation is a little bit different, and context matters. In this situation, the information that was exchanged, a guy came in, he's talking, he starts talking to Scott. Scott's being what Scott is. He's like a media figure, dude. He's a brand. He's sort of like I don't know, he's famous, right? And he started talking to the dude about the lake. They own Roland Martin Marina and Resort. So, like, customer service, like talking to guys who are frequenting the resort, fishing Okeechobee, like, that's kind of part of the deal. That's no excuse, but it definitely adds context to what actually happened. And I think that leads to what I think is one of the biggest problems. Now, Scott self-declared himself. He basically told on himself, which is classy, dude. That's a good thing. So somebody says, hey, this is what happened. This is how it lays out. He brought it up to the tournament director. Now, he should get some kind of punishment, right? There should be some kind of consequence for that behavior, because it does violate the rules. I'll be the first to admit. But should he have been DQ'd? No. Should he have maybe like had to wait 3 hours for day one, like launch? Should he have, maybe been forced to like send an email to all the anglers specifically describing the exact conversation he had, so everyone knows what information he got 4 weeks or something before the tournament? Information that's probably not even relevant, dude. Like, that's kind of the funny part when you like actually read the context, is what he found out or what he actually discussed is so minimal and lacks like any kind of, I don't know, just like it doesn't really define the tournament that's 4 weeks later. There's all kinds of issues when it comes down to it with this information thing, and it's a very nuanced thing. Guys are going to abuse it. There's no doubt about it. So you got to kind of set up rules to accommodate that. But one of the things that sucks is now you have this negative story for bass, and I don't know about you, but the tournament scene is definitely in a rough place right now. And frankly, getting this kind of negative press where they're basically disqualifying somebody who represents the sport really well, who's on his home lake. There's a great narrative story there. Like, that's stupid. You need to punish him, but do you really need to like go to the ends of the earth and call out the guillotine and chop off their heads? Like, I don't think that's a real good reaction. I think that's overbearing, and I think it's kind of dramatic, and I think there's other like politics that played into it. Maybe some people didn't want Scott fishing it. Maybe there's guys who don't like him. With every person who has a large following or anything, there's people who don't like me, dude, and I'm small time. Like, there's a lot of people that don't like him. Did that play into the politics of what actually happened in the decision that was made? I would say yes. You got to read under the lines and between the lines, and I would say that's a play. So here's my other concern. You know, I interact with a lot of people, dude. I meet a lot of guys at the boat ramps. It's always super cool, right? You go to the boat ramps, they're like, hey, you're Mikey Balls. And I'm like, how did you know that? I'm very small time, you know? Like, and we start talking, we hang out, whatever. But like in those interactions, like I want to chat with guys. I love the sport. I love fishing. I want to kind of meet people, mingle with them, talk to them about how they're catching fish. Scott's in that same situation, you know, not only with the brand and the YouTube stuff that he does, but with the resort. You know, they run one of the awesomest resorts in Florida, dude, right on Lake Okeechobee, right in Clewiston. It's a great place to stay. I've stayed there a million times. There's hundreds, thousands of people going in and out of that place, dude, every day, especially in season from like November all the way through March. Scott's the face of that. Like that's like a part of his brand. So is he supposed to basically, someone comes up to him, is he supposed to say, no, I can't talk to you, I'm off limits? Like, let me shut this conversation down. Obviously, you can be a little more tactful with it, but like every time somebody comes up to him and wants to interact and talk about the lake where they're fishing, they're on this epic vacation, he's automatically disqualified because he interacted with a customer of the resort. That's stupid, right? I mean, that's not common sense. He's not getting information that's going to help him the day of that tournament. He's interacting with somebody who's having a good time on the lake, wants to meet him, wants to interact. Like, that's dumb. So the other thing that I'm concerned with is, you know, when it comes to these meetings, I like to think most people are pretty nice, right? Like I talked about at the beginning of the video, most of us guys who fish, like we're kind of common sense, right? So I want to think that most of us are pretty, maybe we don't like tell all our fishing spots, maybe we don't give out all the juice, but at the same time, you know, we're affable, we like to talk to people about the sport, we're kind of in it for the best meaning of what we're doing. Well, frankly, if this is the case, then guys can actually target these pros, dude. Like if you're really thinking about being vile and disgusting and mean, you can go up to these pros and start dumping information and record it with your phone, just like they do to the politicians, dude. And if you get that clip, like you can just sit there and wait till that tournament comes up. And if they didn't declare that they received, whether it was inadvertent or not, if they don't declare that they received that information and some guy goes and posts that on social media and Bassmaster or MLF or any of them gets directed to it, those guys are going to get DQ'd because that's the standard that they're setting up. Is that the standard we want where guys can be targeted and they can go and get their careers, their livelihood, what they do and what they love, just completely just snatched out of the, like from under them just because some guy kind of wanted to target them, didn't like them, and pulled some shenanigans? I don't think that's the way we want to go, and that's the standard that we're setting up. Like that's my 2 cents on it. I like Scott, so I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, this video is biased. Like I like Scott, I like what he does, I like what he does for the sport. I have a relationship with him. You know, I always saw him at Rollins when I lived down, you know, in South Florida and that, going up and fishing. So obviously look at this video as I have bias towards Scott. You know, like he's a good dude. I like him. I've been on his show, all that kind of stuff. So I have a bias, there's no doubt about it. But I worry about the bigger picture and the bar that this sets, especially over these past 2 tournaments, with how they're going to deal with guys. Because the reality is this sport is a sport, but it's also like an event, right? Like people watch it because it makes them excited. And yes, the competition is integral, but there's also stories, you know, like we like the stories of these anglers. We like seeing them succeed. We like seeing what they're doing and stuff. So there's kind of an entertainment component to it too. And if you start cutting the legs out of some of your best entertainers, some of your best representatives of the sport, like what are you going to get left with? A bunch of guys that don't say anything to anybody, don't interact with anybody? Like, I mean, what is there left to really enjoy? But that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments box. I just wanted to squawk about it a little bit because I thought it was something, where I'm at, you know, contextually, knowing Scott, being kind of a Florida guy, it's something I thought I really needed to talk about. And let Bassmaster know what you think, because it's important that they get feedback from the fans, because their decisions, whether they say they're based on rules or not, they're based on politics and they're based on how their audience reacts to the rules and how they enforce them. So if you're telling them, hey, this is a joke, they're going to hear that and they're going to see that. And you need to let them know what your perspective is, because it's going to color or direct the way they make these decisions in the future. And I think the direction that they're going, it's kind of a joke, if I'm being totally honest. And that might be a little bit harsh, but I don't play around. It's straight up, dude. That's my opinion. That's how I'm gonna lay it out. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you. Stay tuned. We have some epic stuff coming. I got some mega bags, dude, some real cool tips for you. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and turn on that notifications deal. And we'll see you back out on the water, pulling on some instead of talking about drama trauma.